So yeah, Mitchell Hora. I'm from east of here over in Washington County. Happy to chat with you guys here today about why this is all important, where soil health is heading, and what's this whole deal of sustainability and whatnot. And then tying into how do we utilize these things that we're going to talk about today, the products, the new programs, new technology and whatnot, but also management practices too, like cover crops, reducing tillage and nutrient efficiency, to be able to help our growers and help to prepare them for the future. So we'll just kind of dig right in. The whole premise of what I'm going to talk about today and where this goes comes down to personalized nutrition. I really hit on it yesterday. Won't dig into it quite as much here today. We'll get into some more tactics, but there's a lot of talk right now about healthier food, more sustainable food, connecting the consumer to where their food came from and whatnot. And it really all boils down to the consumer wants a healthier product. Right now, they're able to go and buy a different label, buy a different product because of the perceived value that comes behind it. It comes behind a label such as organic or non-GMO or grass-fed or whatever you want. Take your pick. There's all kinds of different labels. The consumer is putting more dollars behind that because of the perceived value that that label brings with it. There's a new label that's being established right now in sustainable food, regenerative ag, that is a kind of a new label, but where it's going to work and where it's going to help us out is we can back this up with data, that we are helping to truly become more sustainable, that we are helping to improve our impact on the environment, our impact on water, our impact on carbon, and we're utilizing these tools more efficiently to produce a healthier crop that at the end of the day is more nutrient balanced, that truly is healthier for the end consumer, that fits into their personalized nutrition plan, that they're able to get a better health, better nutritional balance to go into their body through the food that they're eating, and we can deliver that healthier product to them, starting with the nutrition and the balance in the soil. That's what we're gonna hit on here today. We'll see if this clip is gonna work. Oh yeah. We'll get into too much about me. I farm over in Washington County. Have a soil health consulting company, Continuum Ag. Do a lot of soil sampling, do a lot of soil health sampling. Put some data behind this. The data behind this whole what is soil health, how do we quantify it, how do we manage it. We're helping to do that and want to have that conversation with you guys. Practicing what we preach over there in Washington County. A lot of cover crop work. Been using no-till since the 80s and trying a lot of these new products and whatnot too, in order to really be sustainable and really help our farmers to improve their soil health. It's a combination of management practices, but also products. And that's what we've liked hitting on here today, and I'll jump right into that with some of the stuff I've been looking at, how to trial with Nutrisphere this year. And just for example there, we were quantifying biological activity through the CO2 burst. So we're able to quantify how active that soil is. Where we utilized Nutrisphere versus where we didn't utilize Nutrisphere, a month after we applied the anhydrous, there was double the biological activity where we had the product versus where we didn't. That's pretty incredible to me, that those results were staggering. That where we've got the product, we're helping to foster better microbial life. We're protecting the nutrient with the polymer. But because it's a water-based system and it's a chemistry system, not a biological deterrent like other competitive products are, we were actually able to maintain that biological activity and get the soil to function correctly and keep the nutrients where we want them to be in an available form and maintain the biological life, which is going to help the plant and that nutrient interact. So that was really cool. So that's the whole, putting this to practice. Here's a couple of our pictures of our farm. We haven't been able to see them the last couple of days. Now we can see them up here. Great. This is kind of what we're doing, planting green, planting right into some of this cover crop and being pretty aggressive. And the results are backing it up and really, really making things happen. We had our best yields ever this year by about 25 bushel whole farm average, better than what we've ever done in that kind of a system, which is pretty crazy. Wanted to get into this on what's this whole soil health thing mean, and why is soil health and sustainability and whatnot important, and how do we help our farmers to prepare for it? It all boils down to you are what you eat. Okay, so the food that we're gonna have here later today came from an animal, came from a plant that got its nutrients eventually from the soil. And that's where you and I helping our farmers to improve that. That's where the nutrition all comes from, okay? And as these sustainability platforms emerge and blockchain connects the consumer directly with where their food came from, they're going to know how we manage that soil, how we treated it, what were the tools and the management practices that we used on that soil to produce a better quality crop. How did it impact the water quality like Dave's group works on? How does it impact the environment like there's a lot of talk about? No matter what you believe or where your thoughts are with it, doesn't matter. The consumer is going to drive all of it and drive the prices, drive what we want to do, and drive our marketability of our crop that we're producing. The good thing is, if we continue to go about this in the right way, and luckily we do have some good players helping us out in this fight. Noble Foundation, Land O'Lakes is doing a good job, General Mills is doing a good job, the Nature Conservancy and whatnot as well. A lot of this is going about in the right way. That they're saying, hey, we can have some common sense to this. We can improve our soils, we can improve the better quality of the crop that we're producing and have a good impact on the environment. The good thing for us is that it makes sense. It makes sense to improve nutrient efficiency. It makes sense to produce better quality and a bigger quantity crop. It makes sense to be able to get better premiums at the end of the day. It makes sense to hold our soil in the field and not lose it. And it helps to be able to show that profit in the short term for our farmers as we're working towards these long-term gains. The couple groups, I already mentioned some of them working on this. And I'll get in, just kind of jump into what are they looking at and how are they going to go about all this information. What they're doing right now, sorry the text doesn't line up quite right. Essentially what these groups are doing is that we're going to have a lot more data about the crop that we're producing. And there's going to be metrics and whatnot for sustainability on the more points that you gain in your ability to be sustainable, the better market fit you'll have, the better premium you'll have. It's just like looking at, it's taking not only giving us money based on crop quantity, how many bushels per acre we can produce, but what's the quality of those bushels that we're producing. And right now they're looking at how it's being produced is driving that quality. Okay, so what they're doing right now is that you're submitting all your data into the system. Land O'Lakes, of course, tied in with Winfield United and R7. So they're saying the data that's going into R7 or any other platform, we're already collecting that management data. So now the more boxes that you check in the ability to be sustainable, AKA, are you using cover crops? Are you reducing tillage? Are you using nutrient efficiencies? Are you split applying? Are you using stabilizers? Are you improving biology? The more boxes that you check, the more points that you get, the better market fit, the better premium at the end of the day. So the more that we can help our farmers to check more boxes, the better. It's going to help them out. They're going to be able to create a better relationship with us. Good for everybody. But all they're doing is looking at those management practices. So if we were to evaluate a global assessment of human health, doing the same kind of program, we would all go into the doctor and they would say, okay, we're going to do an assessment of your health. Do you work out? Do you eat healthy? Do you not stay away from tobacco? Do you get the right amount of sleep? Only management parameters. They would never try to evaluate your human health based on cholesterol, height and weight, body mass index, your blood sugar levels, that kind of thing. They would never do the actual science behind it. They would just say, if you work out, you eat healthy, you get the right amount of sleep, boom, you're the healthiest person in the world, all the way down to the least healthy person in the world. That wouldn't make sense. We've got to have some real data in behind all this. And the data is how we're actually able to help our farmers to monitor and improve and work up the system. Those are the items that are coming into this system. We'll kind of jump right into that. These are the parameters that are driving these specialty markets. And these 4 parameters are what the farmers will get paid based upon. Okay, so carbon credits, for example, there's companies like Walmart and McDonald's and these huge companies that are saying we need to offset our carbon footprint. Okay, so by moving their products around the world, their factories, a lot of those different components are putting carbon in the atmosphere. They're emitting CO2 and causing some greenhouse gas issues, whatever it may be. They're saying that we have to be able to utilize the farmers and utilize the soil to get that carbon out of the atmosphere and put it back into the soil. To us, that translates to organic matter and organic carbon, aka microbe food. And building our soils, building structure, building nutrient holding capacity in the soil, which is great for us and great for these guys that we're cleaning up the atmosphere, put it back in our soils, and be able to build up our system. It ties directly into the next one, which is water quality. So everyone's talking about water quality, especially here in Iowa, that we have to clean up our water system. We have to be more beneficial to the water based on nitrogen and phosphorus especially. We've got to use the right rates. We've got to be able to use it at the right time. We've got to be able to make sure that it's in the soil, not being lost, that it's held in the right forms, and that it's there and available for the crop to use it. And we're going to get into that here in the next presentation. That we've got to make sure that that nitrogen and phosphorus is there and available for our crop. That makes sense to us too. We don't want to fertilize just to fertilize, and especially if we're going to lose it, we want to make sure that those nutrients are being used efficiently. And we can use that by improving the biological activity and getting the microbes to help us. We can use it, we can improve that crop, the water quality by utilizing better products and whatnot as well. The next one is we want to be able to hold water in our soils better. That way we're able to avoid drought. We're able to get water down in the soil versus it running off. The more of that water that we can hold in our soil with better structure, better biological activity, better aggregate stability, more organic matter, we're going to be able to get paid extra premium for that as well. And the last one ties directly into you are what you eat, which means the better crop quality we can produce, the more nutrient balanced, the more protein content, energy content, those kind of things, helps the next guy that's going to be utilizing that crop, whether it be a hog producer, cattle guy, or even that ethanol, or if it's going to be turned into a different product. The better quality of that product, the more it helps them out, the more efficient they can be, and reciprocate that added gain back to us on the farm to thank us for the improved quality that we've been able to drive for them. So how are we going to do all this? Right now we can quantify these parameters and see where we're at and help our guys to strategically improve with added tools. And we'll kind of leave you with this, that right now, like I said, we're going to be reporting all of this data instantaneously with the Internet of Things, with blockchain, with faster internet. It's going to have all of this data readily available to the end consumer. And now we can add on top of that by showing here's how we actually are improving organic matter. Here's how we actually are bringing CO2 out of the atmosphere and holding it in the soil. Here's how we actually are improving aggregate stability, aka soil structure, and getting that water down into the soil, and we're holding it better. We have real data that we can back that up, and we can actually quantify and strategically improve. That not only helps in the long term to help us to have market fit and to help out as these premiums are developing, which the timeline on all this stuff is 2022. That's why we're talking about it now, so we're ready. But also a lot of these parameters, we can help to show our farmers, hey, we are doing things better, we are making progress, and you're getting some return on that investment that you're making in the short term. That's why I like the data. We'll skip over. I've got a data system that we've developed to be able to do this, to be able to help scale this up and help that you're not starting from scratch. And the biggest thing that I kind of want to just leave you with, one of the biggest tools that we've been doing here and evaluating some of the Verdesian products with as well is called the Haney Soil Health Test. So with that test, we're able to actually quantify that organic carbon and the biological activity and the available nutrients and show them that with these improved practices and with these improved products, here is what it's doing. Here's how we're actually making you more efficient. Here's how we're actually making these nutrients more plant available. And here's how we're actually helping your bottom dollar. Here's why the yield is improving. Here's why we're cleaning up the water. Here's why these nutrients are important. And here's why: by utilizing improved product, we can actually reduce your rates because we're making you more efficient. It improves their dollar, it doesn't change your dollar, and it helps them to fit long term, and creates a better brand for us too, that we're being more cautious about water quality, more cautious about the environment, and building soil for our growers. We're doing this through our Right Way soil sampling program. Essentially, it's a zone system, so that's how we're able to get the economics to work the right way, but able to just help to give our growers better information about what's going on, utilize the 4 R's better to create better product placement, the right rates, and be able to show here's really what's going on in your soils. This is an example of some of it looks bad on the screenshot that I've got up here. The quality of the accuracy doesn't look that good, but we're able to just help to improve product placement, be more accurate, utilize improved technology, and this is just going to continue to get further and further advanced as we're going to sensors, as we're going to more thorough soil data, more thorough technology that's really going to just blow this stuff up to be able to show us that we can improve our soils, we can be more efficient, and we can utilize products and practices to help us to get there. The whole conclusion here is here's what's coming: better markets driven by quality, markets driven by our impact on water and environment and whatnot. And rather than have that whole movement be a negative and have it be, we need to avoid regulations, we don't want to be taxed for this, we don't want to have mandates and restrictions on what we can or can't do. Instead, let's have this be a incentive-based system, and that's what's coming from these big companies. The whole point of today is helping our growers to understand why soil health is important, that the consumer is becoming more connected with everything that we're doing. So by preparing now and improving and making progress, they're going to be better set up for the future. Although these things are coming in 2022, the way to get there, to be more efficient, to improve yields, improve our soils, helps our farmers to be able to become more profitable and help us to become more profitable in the short term. Because a true sustainability market only works if the economics are also sustainable. For the farmers, for ag retail, for agronomy advisors, for the food companies, for the truck drivers, for all the components of it, everyone has to fit into the system and be economically and environmentally sustainable in this system. We'll lead into these next guys here to show us some more tactics on how we get there. I think I've got, here's more my info, of course. We'll have all this kind of stuff on social media. And I'm an hour and a half, less than that, barely over an hour away. So not far away either to be able to help show you guys some information and just be able to show our growers what are the next steps. How do I improve? How do I improve my soils, work with it? What are the better practices and products that can help me to get there? And we can move these guys forward. With that, we'll take any questions, or nice small group here today too, so we can chat over lunch and whatnot also to keep the day rolling.
So if we're gonna be getting a better price, where's that money coming from?
Perfect question. Dave asked the same kind of deal yesterday. So where's this money come from? Okay, so right now, where I relate it back to is we're adding a perceived quality into how we're farming. But instead of it just being perceived quality and fuzzy feel-good emotion that I'm cleaning up the water and I'm being more sustainable and I'm cleaning up the atmosphere, that only goes so far. Because you and I are like, okay, if I'm gonna pay extra dollar for that, I don't know, I wanna improve water quality, but I don't know. Somebody else can pay for it. So where this comes though is that we can back it up with data to show that we are doing things better. The food companies will just say, if you're gonna be on our shelves at Walmart, you have to meet these certain thresholds. So even to get into the market, even to be on the shelves of Walmart or being sold through Amazon, you have to meet these certain thresholds. So that'll be part of it, that you won't make any dollars if you're not in that system. Now there'll be the conventional system, of course. We can still sell stuff to Mexico or go to China, or some of our ethanol and whatnot might not fully be driven by this in the short term. But right now, these companies are saying, just to be able to sell through us, you have to be at certain thresholds. That's where some of the dollar comes from. Where I think this really goes is when we're showing the quality to the end consumer, to show here's the nutrient balance, here's the nutrient density of this crop that helps you to be healthier, not get sick, stay out of the doctor's office, avoid chronic illness, those kind of components. That's where it really gets interesting, because right now they're buying organic, grass-fed, non-GMO because they want a healthier product. Well, we know that those nutritionally are not different than the conventional crop that we're growing right now. So it's perceived quality. But as we actually do improve the quality of this crop to show that this actually is more nutrient balanced and actually is healthier, that's where they can say, this actually is helping me to become healthier, not spend as much money on medicine, actually produce healthier food for my kids. And that's where some of that dollar figure really comes from. So all of this, that information about the nutrition of the steak or of the loaf of bread or whatever it may be, all becomes readily available in real time. One of the things that a guy that Dave talked about and was just in a meeting with the other day, that there's nutrient readers now to evaluate the nutrient density of that apple or lettuce or banana or whatever you want. There's readers right now, handheld devices that you can see the nutrient density, the nutrient makeup of that food. So the consumer actually can quantify these parameters on their own. It's a connected to your phone kind of deal to see, here's that actual nutrient density. And like I started this with, that everyone will better understand their personalized nutrition, understand what are the nutrients that I actually need, how does my metabolism cycle nutrients and help me to be more efficient. As we understand what our body actually utilizes and we're able to match it up on our phone instantaneously with the food that we're putting in our systems, now they're able to fully see that connected. Like I said, those sensors are already here.
But with us growing corn and soybeans, and we sell to the elevator.
Correct.
Or Eddyville or whoever.
Yep. How does it connect?
Yeah, how's that connected to anything?
Correct. There's a company so there's a couple different groups that are fixing that problem. There's one group out of Kansas City that's monitoring the load from the combine monitor and can monitor where that crop is going from bin to bin, grain cart, truck, bin, barge, train, wherever it may be. They have that data connectivity right now. That's through blockchain, does all that, to connect all this data instantaneously. The other group that's really doing it is called Indigo Ag. So Indigo Ag has a seed treatment. Indigo Ag is a company that's raised $604 million to do this. More money than they know what to do with. They're out of Boston. Now their headquarters is down in Memphis. Indigo Ag has a biological seed treatment that they are tracing where that product is going, what field it's going into. So they know where that seed is that has their additives. So they're starting from step one. I'm saying we go one step further to the soil that seed's going into, but they're starting with the seed. I just talked to them 2 days ago, so we'll get the soil part soon. But with the seed, now I can monitor when the combine goes across that to harvest that seed, what load it is on the monitor. That data is going straight into the cloud already. So we know right where that load came from. Now that load goes into this grain cart, or into this wagon, or into this semi, and into this grain bin. Then everything in that bin came from this field, it might be a couple fields, it's not gonna be 100% accurate because the scale is not realistic. But more and more it will become very accurate. But then as I pull out of this grain bin onto this truck and go to this ADM facility or this Cargill facility or this ethanol plant or to this big hog buyer, here's where that grain went and here's what it went into. So maybe it went into a hog and went into this feed ration. Now that hog is eating corn that was raised from this field, or soybean meal, that was raised from this farm, that was raised with these practices. Now it's that hog buyer, or that hog producer, that we've passed the torch off to. So now they are saying, here's our hogs that we're producing, that are fed a better quality feed, that are fed a more nutritious diet. They're becoming more efficient because the food that they're feeding them is more efficient, higher energy content, quicker turnaround, better efficiency for them, and a better quality product, better quality pork chop at the end of the day, that the consumer sees all the way back through where that came from. Our piece of it is just monitoring all of these soil pieces and all of the components that we are on the field with are touch points. Indigo Ag right now, they've got the seed. They're financing, 0% financing for grain bins and for crop baggers. They have their own fleet of truck drivers, just like Uber is. You can drive for Indigo Ag. And they have an online marketplace to connect that truck and that grain bin with the end buyer. And you're able to get a premium by selling it through their system. It's called the Indigo Marketplace.
So you're bypassing the farm elevator now,
Potentially. That's what they want to do because it's easier for a company like Indigo to store it on the farm. But however, we can tie in as an elevator, that we can tie in with them and say this bin is being sourced from these farms. So we already do this with organic, non-GMO. They're in their own bins already. We're just saying here's another bin for sustainability or whatever it may be. It's not gonna be a perfect system. It's here's how this is overall improving. Here's how this is being more connected. And I think it will get even better and better. Brody and I were talking about putting sensors and whatnot. There was potential to put sensors in your bag of seed corn to know exactly where that bag of seed corn went. You can put that same kind of sensor that's the same size as a kernel of corn into that load, into that hopper, into that bin, and be able to trace that grain all the way through and be able to fine tune this even more to see exactly where it came from. Corn and soybeans, it is a couple steps more than what this is with vegetables, specialty crops, that kind of stuff. That's very direct to the consumer. This, it just has one extra step in the chain, but the whole point has been prepared for this, collecting this data, understanding where this has to go, and being ready.
So, for example, in Indigo Ag's standpoint, where are some of these end markets located?
Correct. So the end markets that Indigo is tied in with right now, they are able to tap into just any of the markets that your local buyers and whatnot are tapping into. They send out a text every single day. Typically that text tells me I've got about 350 bids available, live bids available. So they've got a lot, 350 of them. Now that's in a pretty widespread area, maybe not realistic for me to sell to every single one of them, but they've got a lot of people that are buying grain in our geographies. Okay, so right now they're saying we might be able to get a small premium for how this was raised. They're saying a 10-cent premium is what they're starting with because they're proving a concept. That because you have our biological additive, it's being more efficient, it's producing a healthier crop. So we're gonna get a 10-cent per bushel premium at the end of the day. When that 10 cents turns to 10 and 20%, really changes all this. As we're showing the consumer, here's how this was raised, here's the real quality behind it, and here's the real data transparency behind all of this, and they're able to see it from anywhere in the world where that food came from, then it gets interesting. If you knew where that wheat was raised in your loaf of bread, and you knew where that wheat came from, here's the farmer, here's our YouTube video of him and his little kids and their farm and whatnot, and here's their cover crops and their diverse system and whatnot, and you knew that that's what went into that loaf of bread, that appeals to the consumer. Anyway, we got kind of into that. What happened to?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm all about sustainability and everything. But, so, at the end of the day, you want us to run cover crops, all this other stuff, to be in this program to get a 10-cent premium, right?
So right now they're starting with 10 cents,
So-
even though it's only arbitrary right now.
Okay. But we had, 2 years ago, Bill Snow was on his
Oh yeah.
agenda and everything.
Oh, yeah.
This year, Northern Iowa had 3 times more rain than they had.
Yep.
We didn't hear one word about water quality or anything.
No.
So nothing's changed.
Correct.
But, so, like, in your operation, you said 25, this was your best year ever.
Yeah.
Using cover crops, that system and everything. I've sat through a lot of meetings, and you get these guys off to the side and talk about their nutrient programs and stuff. Okay, sat through a program last year, got the guy off to the side, so what's your nitrogen management program? Well, run 240 pounds of nitrogen to get 240. And he wants to sit up there and tell me that I'm doing stuff wrong. My
Right.
nitrogen utilization is 0.75 pounds per bushel.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm not using cover crops, so I'm the bad
That's where I think, that's where to me, it boils back to not just checking the box, because you can spoof the system. But when you show the actual data behind it, that I actually am becoming more efficient, that is when it gets interesting. But, so I 100% agree with what you're getting out there, that the cover crops, certain products, certain practices are not going to solve all the problems. They're not going to solve all the issues. That's why I don't think that this should be a blanket system. All I'm getting at is that I don't know exactly how this is going to work out in the end. These are multi-billion-dollar companies that are driving this, not me. I'm just saying that the consumer is going to see all of that information about how we're farming. So Walmart already came out and said they're going to utilize blockchain to trace their leafy greens back to the source. They're already doing this right now. And they're gonna do it with all the other stuff too. So it's just being ready for it. And I agree with you that I would rather it not be use cover crop, get a premium. I would rather it be improve nutrient efficiency, get below that 0.7 pounds per bushel, then you're helping and doing something. And that's why, like you brought up too, you know, that yeah, you do talk to guys who are, yeah, they might be doing one positive, but they're completely offsetting it with a negative. But by
3 or 4.
or multiple negatives. But by bringing about some of the data behind it, we can show, okay, here's how we can weed ourselves off of this down, become more efficient, and it definitely works. The best one that I had this year was a guy who has been into the system for a while, used 140 pounds of nitrogen, and his farm average was 245. So he's getting it to work, but how do we scale that up and be able to help more guys? But really good question. I gotta let him take over, but happy to keep chatting more and love the conversation. So